It's back by popular demand. We're back with our NWA Spotlight. I'm going to have to keep paying Fiona weekend rates, which I'm not happy about. It's Sunday at the
I
time of
know, what the hell, man? It's like 8 o'clock on a Sunday night.
it is. It's 8 o'clock on a Sunday night over here in the UK, but our guest is in the States, I believe, in Eastern time. So that would be roughly 5 hours, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Uh,
Uh, mhm.
he hasn't said he's going to do any magic today, but he is one part of Magic Inc. It's Jake Dumas. Jake, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you guys doing?
We're
You're
good.
good,
The
thanks.
sun, the sun was out probably for about the second time this year in the UK today.
Awesome. Yeah,
It's
I know
always
you
a
guys
good
don't
day.
get that a lot.
No,
Mhm.
no, especially not this year. It's been wet and windy, I think is the best form to really give us that. We've kind of had like tornado season over here without the official warnings that you guys get in the States. Like there's been
Right.
some cities and places over here that's literally you can see a few tornadoes going across, but nothing to the extreme of what we see over there, thankfully, over in your neck of the woods in the States. But Fee, let's just quickly recap. NWA Hard Times Part 4 was this
Mhm.
week. It was a really good show. The cage match featured in the main event. It was rats in a cage, kind of
Yeah.
fitting with the Southern Six being in there. That we can call them rats, which is good. But Jake, following off, obviously this is like one of the first seasons on the CW app. It's come from YouTube to CW. Have you noticed any sort of changes yourself, not just maybe in production, but in the way things are different from where you were taping on YouTube from what now you're taping on the CW?
Absolutely. It's been an absolute game changer. The CW's been nothing but amazing for the NWA. It's been a huge boost in production. It's a huge boost, not only in production but also in talent. They've got it's very uplifting, and it raises the spirits when you know that you're on a prime time deal with someone as big as the CW app. Like I said, production has been upped, production value has been upped. Everybody stepped up their game. There's, with that, obviously too, there's a lot of pressure on a lot of the guys too, to perform at a level where we're not playing around anymore. Like we're trying to become something that rivals every other company, and I truly believe we're going to get there. Um, and there's you got a lot of guys just hungry and ready to go in the locker room, and also with on the production side of that, since I do have a hand in that. There's just it's just a whole different level of what we were doing versus what we're doing now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, you've noticed, and one of the things you got the VPN. So just for your knowledge, Jake, we couldn't watch Power since it started on the
On the
CW.
CW, yeah.
Yeah, for
We
last
still can't technically. We might be using a little back door to watch it at the moment.
yes, hopefully no one from the FBI or the City of London Police.
Well, let me go ahead and put on my policeman's hat. You're
um,
busted.
yes.
You guys are both going to jail.
Yes, well, if we go, as long as we can get our VPNs with us, and I can bring a laptop in there, I'll be okay to record. But Fee, you mentioned it straight away. You got the VPN a few weeks before I did it, and the first thing you mentioned was the production side of things and how
Oh,
you felt it looks so much better
completely.
than before.
Yeah, completely. Just visually, obviously, it kind of caught me off guard, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting such a jump, but visually, the cameras, the even just the camera angles and the shots and the staging and everything, just it blew me away. And I think that was one of the first things I kind of said to you after I'd seen the first episode. When I was like, wow, you actually need to check this out. So I really hope that the rest of the world's going to get to see it soon
Yeah,
and see the changes.
Yeah, that's been such kind of a thorn in our side right now, is because we do have a lot of worldwide representation, and there's people all over the planet that want to watch. We constantly get the comments, "Hey, how are we going to watch this?" And I'm like, and you guys have been doing what we've suggested, and yeah. I will say, I've dealt with what you got to do that. It's not hard. It's a couple of extra steps, but if you truly do want to support the NWA and you do want to see those episodes as they come out, there are definitely ways to do that. So
There are
there's
ways and means. There's always a way.
there's always a way. There's a will, there's a way.
There certainly is. And yet, when I've now cottoned on, I think it's also 3 weeks now, I think, Fee. And it makes our shows a lot better than, what we done before, Jay, because we were just reading the results off of a wrestling results page and just discussing it that way. And you can't get into a nitty gritty of a match, or something would happen and you'd be like, and, the first week, I think it was, what did they do the first week? Was it like death match or something like that, Fee?
And we both missed it. It was the
Awesome.
Cardona EC3 death match, and we missed it. And we were like, oh, there was a death match. Apparently, there were some light bulbs. Who knew? So
Yep. You got to go off pictures and results, and it's just
it's hard.
It was difficult, but thankfully that's changed for now, and especially as a certain competition is coming up, which we'll get to in a minute, that Fee, I know you hold very close to your heart at least. But Jake, going back, as we mentioned, the CW app is massive. You've already mentioned the additional pressure, but is there also more of an excitement now in that locker room that, hey, look, and obviously coming onto the CW, I think later on this fall, I believe, is NXT at the same. Not to say you're going to be going head to head, but you're going to be on the same, programming as a WWE. But the locker room itself, did that generate that real big extra buzz when they said streaming, but on a big network over in America?
Yeah, and like, so kind of going into it, there was all this talk of, oh, you guys are just on the app, it's just streaming, like what you're not on the cable channel. That's what people don't understand, is like a company like the WWE is going to be doing the exact same thing we're doing on the same network. They're just streaming on the same thing. That's the direction that we're going. I don't know the last time that I turned on a cable TV channel and that's what I watched for my programming. Everything's on demand these days. And I feel like, and that's like, I plan to watch Backlash later today. I'm not going to be able, it used to be, you bought the pay-per-view, if you'd have it for 3 days, and that's what you get. That's not how it works anymore. And that's not the way of the world anymore. And, going kind of back to what you were saying, is that was there an excitement or a boost in excitement for the talent? Absolutely, 100%. Kind of pull back the curtain a little bit when we have when we were having our talent meetings or anything like that, where everybody gets to sit in front of the boss and hear all the head shed talk before we have our taping days. It's always said that NWA is a brand of, smash mouth, old school, hard hitting wrestling. We're not trying to end anybody's careers, but we are that brand that's known for its toughness, for its, its grit, its grime, its grind. And that kind of got boosted a little bit knowing that we're going to the CW. Now we have the idea that every single match that you have, it needs to be pay-per-view quality. There's no more going through the motions. We don't have guys that are just, taking it taking it one at a time and kind of, meandering around the locker room. If you're doing that in the NWA, I'm telling you right now, you're about to see, every one of those lazy guys, they're going to be gone. It'll be a revolving door for them. They'll come in and go right back out, which I think is good. It's good. It's great that it's kind of enamored this culture of competition within the company, to really bring it and to be the best professional wrestler you can be.
Definitely. So I think it's definitely showing, Fee. I mean, from the matches that we've seen so far in the future, there has definitely been a sort of uptake in, not saying that matches were bad on YouTube or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination, but there is that sort of bigger fight.
Everything just seems a little bit more like, without, this is going to probably come out not the way I want it to, but everyone seems like they're trying that little bit harder. They're doing that little bit more. Right. And they've stepped up. They've leveled up, basically, completely leveled up.
Yeah, and that's apparent, and that's, I will tell you, like, there was back a little bit a while ago when we were on YouTube and we weren't working with the CW. Everybody was always like, they were able to hang out afterwards at the tapings, and we have our camaraderie, and you hang out with the guys that you always see. Nowadays that energy's kind of gone, because everybody, when we go through our taping days, we're giving it everything we got, and everybody just wants to go to bed. We're just we're we're beat to hell, and we're done for the day when the day's over.
I
So
can imagine. I can imagine. So there's also other bits of news was the fact that NWA bringing back the territories, which is something really, really good. Obviously, in EC3, I think Kenzie and Kylie Page's territories have just been up. That will also help not only with the now, but the future of the brand going forward. So I'm going to imagine, and again, you don't have. I'm not saying I'm going to pull back the curtain, but I can imagine that going forward, we're going to be seeing a lot of these newer talents as the episodes go on, and as you get further down the line. And also, more stars will be born and bred via the NWA.
So I have a very unique perspective on this because I am an NWA original.
Yeah.
I was born, like, the only time anyone's ever seen me before was in the NWA, and it's really exciting to see the territory system and what's being implemented in it, because before we got on the call, I told you guys, I've been to almost every single one of them already. I've worked for JCP, NWA. I've worked for Crossfire. I was there when they were inaugurated into the NWA. I've been to FTW down in Florida, down in Tampa. And I just got finished in NWA Chicago about 2 days ago. And it's kind of refreshing because I can recall one taping day we had in Nashville where more people showed up to try and get a look, excuse me, than the talent roster. We had, and I'm not, and by I mean massive numbers. I'm talking, we had maybe 20 or 30 guys booked for that taping day from the roster. I think when the numbers were all settled, it was anywhere between 50 to 60 people were trying to get a.
Okay.
So
that's a lot.
It's so much, and we appreciate the people that are coming and trying to do it the right way for the business, paying your dues, getting people coffee, setting up the ring, just trying to be there and be presentable and be supportive of the brand when they're not necessarily giving anything to you yet. That's how I was raised. I was with the NWA for, 2.5 years. I was traveling to Atlanta, and wherever they were going. I mean, I was at the pop-up event here in Tennessee before they were even doing stuff for TV. But I was helping people. I was setting up the ring. I was getting people coffee. I was doing the grunt work. And I always believe that's the right way. Too often nowadays, people will come in and, they got a good social media following and this, that, and the other, and they don't necessarily go through the hardships of being humbled and being respectful and, knowing your role before you come in. And necessarily that's not the best way for everybody, but I would say about at least 80 to 90% of the time, these talents need to be humbled when they come in and say, you are here, but you are the lowest man on the totem pole and you have to work your way up.
Sure.
So the territory system's really good for that. Bringing them in, getting a look at them and saying, okay, let's start molding this guy. Let's see what we can do with this girl. Let's kind of see what we got and move forward with that.
Yeah. And we're starting to see some of these territory kind of wrestlers show up on Power and things now. Mm-hmm. So folk like the kids, the slime balls and things that we haven't seen before as viewers obviously have come in from, I think the kids are the Exodus Pro boys, I think. So it's nice to see them. And as a viewer, it's nice to see that wee fresh injection of talent. Not that the existing roster is stale by any means, but it opens up a whole possibility of new competition, new challengers, it's really quite exciting to see, actually. So from a fan's perspective, I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of what the future brings on that front.
Yeah, and it makes all the guys that have been there, it gives them, a little shot in the ass going, hey,
keeps you on your toes.
you got a 20-year-old kid who's ready to get, who's ready to go through it, and is willing to go through it. And it's like, you got to keep up with them.
Yeah,
definitely. So I just want to ask a quick question about your character, because I know when you turned in the NWA, you wasn't Magic Jake as well.
Yep.
and I did read, so I do read up on this thing, so, but I don't always take it as gospel. The reason I don't take it as gospel is I had if you don't, well, Matt Raywald, Aiden English, and I read
Yep.
something on. I was doing my research about him, and I read something about it. And when I introduced him, it was actually totally wrong. It was just propaganda that the WWE had put out there that that people on the internet and places that you do your research actually believed, and it wasn't true. But I'm going to ask.
Right.
So if
Yeah.
if I am wrong, I apologize in advance.
Of course.
Did it that your name get to Magic Jake from The Greatest Showman?
So Magic Jake, before I was Magic
Yeah.
Jake, I was my name was Fable Jake.
That's it. Yeah.
And it was an interpretation of The Greatest Showman. You know, I was the showman, Fable Jake. And I'll give you the story of how Magic Jake came to be.
Oh.
We were in Atlanta, and this was after my 2.5 years of, you know, fighting my way to get a spot on the card. And I had just had a tryout match for NWA, and I'm very close to Billy Corgan now. Just being a producer at the company, I do, you know, me and him talk a lot about, you know, the business, everything from A to Z. But at that time, Billy Corgan did not even know my name. He did not know who I was, like any of that. Like, or so I thought. You know, that was my mentality. You know, I'm I'm not even extra talent. I'm the ring crew guy. So that this guy has no idea who I am. And it had been like my second or third tryout match, and I think it was Kyle Davis that came up to me when I went in the back hallway after one of my matches with I think it was the Fixers. I had a tag match with the Fixers. Um, he came up to me while I was in the hallway, and he goes, "Hey, Jake," and I go, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Hey, Billy Corgan wants to see you." And I went, "Okay, I messed up bad. I had to have messed up something really bad. Somebody got hurt or something like that." And I go into the room in GPB in Atlanta. Yep. I go into one of the back rooms, and here's Billy Corgan, Pat Kenny, and Raven. These
Oh
three
my
guys.
God. You're like, what have I done?
Yeah. So when I walk in there, I'm like, I'm getting fired. I'm done. I'm done for. And I don't think Billy remembers this, and I haven't talked to him about this in in a long time. But the first thing Billy Corgan ever said to me when I walked in there, and he goes, "Jake, I'm going to tell you something. I like you. I think you got potential, but I absolutely hate your gimmick."
Oh no.
And I went, I've never felt such mixed emotions in a blast like that. I was like, okay, great. He likes me, but he hates my creative vision. So that's great. But we were in the back, and they're just kind of going back and forth. They're like, what do we do with this guy? How do we, what are we going to do? And Raven, of all people, Hall of Famer, he looks at me and he goes, "Man, it sucks that you don't know how to do magic." And I was like, "I do know how to do magic." And he's
Oh,
like, "What do you
amazing.
mean?" Yeah, I was like, what do you?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I've been doing magic since I was like 6 years old. I know how to do magic." And he goes, "I got it. Sleazy magician. You're gonna dye your hair black. You're gonna and you'll come out with a cigarette, throwing cards at people and all this, that, and the other." And he's like, just thinks like the Amazing Jonathan and Bad Santa put together. I
I
was like,
love it.
I was like, that's a good idea. So I showed up to a I think they were called Power Surge.
I remember them, yeah.
Yeah, Power Surge in Oak Grove, Kentucky.
Kentucky, yeah.
And I showed up there, hair completely black, facial hair black. Everybody, first of all, was like, "What did you do? What is that?" Because if you guys look early on, my hair was brown, all this stuff. So when I showed up, they were like, "That's jet black," and I was like, "Yeah, that's what they said. That's what Raven said." Um, and I debuted that night against AJ Kazana, and they absolutely loved it, and the rest is history. But very scary thing. the character that I took a lot of inspiration from, the Amazing Jonathan. I don't know if you guys have heard of Amazing Jonathan.
Mm-mm.
No.
He's a magician comedian.
Okay.
Basically, he's just a sleazeball, does these really gross tricks, uh, shock comedy kind of stuff. Uh, he was a big inspiration for the character. I debuted as Magic Jake a week later, 7 days. 7 days later, the Amazing Jonathan passed away.
Wow.
Oh,
Crazy.
that's quite spooky.
Yeah. I was like, uh, I was like, this is either a sign, a good sign, or a really bad sign. Like,
Wow. But I was actually saying, Adam, when we were chatting about you coming on and stuff, I was just saying, like, I love the whole Magic Jake thing. Like, there's something really menacing about you when you come out.
mm,
I've been there at the live show, so I've been in Nashville, I've been in Tampa when you've been out, and there
mm.
is just something about you that's just kind of like, whoa, I'm a little bit intimidated, a little bit scared. So for me, it works. I love
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do my best.
it.
I'm usually just hungover, but
That's it's. I've loved the character since we got it. But then again, I do like what I said. We said this to. Oh, I said this to Carl Davis. I can't remember a really mad analogy that I'm not going to get into now. But I mentioned about how I feel as if the NWA has so much more variety in characters than
mm,
they're near enough than anywhere else. A lot of the characters you see elsewhere will pretty much be of the same mold, but they'll have their own, shtick to it. But the
right.
NWA, you go from like yourself, you got Magic Jake, you got like the legendary like Tim Storm, and you got the Latimers who do something different, and then you flip that, and then you have got the clowns, and then you got
Yep.
the slime balls, and then you flip that again, and you've got Max the Impaler and people like, and there's so many different varieties of characters, and that really does help the show because with Power you don't always get the same people every week. It's a lot
Right.
of this people this week and next week. It helps with all the fact that you've got so many characters because you do actually get to that bit where you go, I really want to see like Max the Impaler, and it flashes up next week. Max, and you're like, great, another character. There is so many great varieties, but that does make for good television.
Oh, absolutely. And I say this on a lot of excuse me, on a lot of podcasts that I do. That's what wrestling was missing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say as hokey as like the WWF in the 80s and the 90s, where you had the mailman, you had the garbage guy, like you had the everyday 9 to 5 jobs trying to connect to Joe Schmo who does those jobs. Um, you had all of those things back then. But and this is I've taught a couple of students. I've started teaching the newer generation how to wrestle, and one thing that I always tell my guys is, what the greatest compliment I could ever get was a 5-year-old can go out of this show tonight, and they can go. Their mom and dad will go, "Hey, what'd you think, buddy?" And that little kid will go, "Well, I don't remember anybody's name from the show, but I do remember the magician. I
Yeah.
remember the guy in the top hat." And I'm like, if you cannot walk through the curtain, this is everybody knows that the worst thing a wrestling crowd can do is nothing. It's not boo, it's not
Yeah.
cheer, it's nothing. If you come through and there's crickets, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
I tell people, if you can't come through that curtain and within the first 10 seconds they know who you are and they know what your role is in the match, you're fighting an uphill battle at that point.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of nice about, because like you do say, we have the legendary Tim Storms, we got the Trevor Murdochs, the Tom Latimers, the big beefy, the Silas Masons that can come through the curtain. They're big beefy, old school generic, big tough guys that are going to just whoop your ass. And that's really easy to connect with. But if you have a whole card of those guys, sooner or later it gets stale. It's like, okay, it's Mike Quackenbush actually put it together really well. A wrestling event should be like a 9-course meal. If they just bring you out plates of steak, every single plate, and that's all you get for 9 plates, sooner or later you don't want steak anymore. Like as good, that could be your favorite food in the world. Sooner or later you go, hey, do you guys got any potatoes or vegetables, or like have a cake or a glass of water would be great. You have to have every single thing. And it's like when you have a 9-course meal come out, are you going to like every plate? More than likely, no. But if you get 5, 6, 7 plates that you like, that's a good meal. You're satisfied. You're full. You've gotten everything that you need. And that goes back to those characters. Is you need to have that dynamic, that flow of, we have our wrestlers, we have our, guys in trunks and elbow pads and knee pads that are keeping tradition alive as traditional wrestlers. And then you got people like the magician, the gimp, the devil, all these other characters that you can kind of attribute to as being like we've got everything. You know what I mean?
There's a flavor of ice cream for everyone.
Absolutely. We're Baskin Robbins, the NWA.
Now, before we get on to near the end, just because I've just read something, I always read the pages. Someone very close to you, Fee, we have to congratulate. Number 4 in the official top 40 songs this week was "We Believe in Joe Hendry."
Yeah.
And believe it has been officially announced he got to number 4 in the
well done, Joe.
charts.
Yeah.
I know it's going way off piste.
Wonders will never cease. Wrestling songs in the charts. Who knew it?
A wrestling song in the charts. Who would think of it? Congratulations to Joe Hendry. That is a massive feat. And if you don't know, Jake, just Google it. It will be.
Oh no, I'm well aware. But that's the thing is that's the beautiful thing about wrestling is we've got whoever the people want, that's who they're gonna get.
Exactly. And they certainly seem to believe in Joe Hendry, that's for sure. Fee, let's talk about something very close to your heart. No, not Joe Hendry, but the Crockett Cup.
My favorite. My favorite. I love tag team wrestling. I don't know why. I think it's just the fast pacedness of it and the fact that you've got extra people in the ring and anything's possible. There's again so many more opportunities. Obviously, Jake, you're part of Magic Inc. But we've seen you in singles action more often lately than in tag team action. What do you know? Is there plans for you? The Crockett Cup's obviously 2 weeks away on the 18th of May in Forney in Texas, New Dallas. Have you got plans? Is there tag teams that you would like to go up against? Are you preferring your kind of singles route? Just talk to me about the Crockett Cup basically and what your thoughts are.
First of all, Crockett Cup is obviously one of my favorites as well. It's historical. It's historic. It's tradition. It just screams NWA.
Yeah, totally.
I absolutely love the Crockett Cup. I participated actively in the last 2 Crockett Cups. As far as I'm concerned, first of all, a magician can show up anywhere, Fee. So
of course,
never count that out. I am Magic Inc. for the time being. We just had our thing with Aaron Stevens and BFT. We've pinned La Rebellion, the longest reigning tag team champions in the Lightning One era. We're a formidable force to be reckoned with. But right now, I've got a little bit of a personal vendetta. First against Max the Impaler. Max and I, as a lot of people know, I am the #1 contender to the NWA World Television Championship, and Max has that right now. So there's a little bad blood between me and the devil right now. So that's my main concern right now. But I will tell you, like I said, I go back to an old quote from J.R.R. Tolkien. A wizard is never late or early, but he arrives only when he means to. So I will leave it at that.
We will watch this space and see what lies ahead for you. Then that's exciting. Leave us on tenterhooks.
Absolutely.
Then there's an event just as we start finishing up now, Jake. Then there's an event a little bit later on. Obviously, NWA 76. You're going extreme. You're going to Philly, the 2300 arena. How much is that exciting? Not only because it's NWA 76, but the history behind that arena itself.
That's absolutely amazing, for the NWA to be able to, once again, we're all about tradition. We're all about history. We're all about going back to these towns that, have been starved of wrestling for so long. We just went to Alabama, obviously, with hard times. Amazing crowd. Alabama deserves every bit of wrestling that they get because that crowd was amazed. I could not say enough about that crowd. We're going to Forney, Texas. It's been decades since we've been in Texas. So there's so much buzz about that already in the great Lone Star State. And then Philadelphia being able to go back to the ECW arena and be there where we've saw all of the great stuff that ECW was doing in their one night stands and just being in the same arena that Rob Van Dam and Sandman and Edge and John Cena and all of those people have been there. It's a huge step forward for the NWA to be in that space and for it to be our marquee show, our annual show of NWA 76. It's like I said, absolutely monumental, and it is a huge step forward for us.
Yeah. Can I ask, are you going to get a photo beside the mural?
Oh, absolutely, everybody is. Yeah.
I think you can't go there and not do that, to be honest with you.
100%. Magic doesn't work without a little blood sometimes. So gotta get my picture. Gotta get my
Love
picture.
It. Exactly that. Well, Fee, I always say this, the NWA is your baby, and every time we get a guest on, I always give you the pleasure as your payment, as you have the last question with our guest. So fire away.
Okay, so you're saying that Max is in your sights. If Max is in your sights, and you were to be successful and somehow beat Max and get that beautiful title, who would you like your first defense to be against?
Tom Latimer.
Okay.
Tom Latimer would be my first defense.
Okay.
It's a steep one.
Yeah.
Tom taught me everything that I knew about wrestling. He's a very good companion of mine. Yeah, I would say Jeremiah Plunkett if he ever showed up.
I miss Jeremiah.
I love Jeremiah. Like I always tell everybody, Jeremiah Plunkett taught me how to walk in a professional wrestling ring, and Tom Latimer taught me how to run. So either one of those two gentlemen would be my first defense. I'd give my top hat to wrestle Tom Latimer or Jeremiah Plunkett one-on-one for the television championship.
In that case, I look forward to seeing one of those matches.
Absolutely, me too.
Well, so would I. Certainly would concur with those. But Jake, as before we go off, if you can just let people know your social medias and what you've got coming up and where they're going to be. I know we've spoken a little bit about where the NWA are going to be, but more of your appearances, please.
Absolutely. So you should be following me on Instagram, on Facebook. Very easy to find me. Magic Jake Dumas. That's MAGIC JAKEDUMAS, not dumbass. Dumas. Everybody likes to make that joke. You can find me on Facebook at that as well. You can find me on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call, at Magic Jake Dumas. We do have a territory show coming up on June 1st. It's called Back to the Territories. More than likely going to be there. That's going to be right down the road for me in Knoxville, Tennessee. But I've got a lot of stuff on YouTube. Obviously, watch the CW. It's free. You don't need a subscription. There's no excuse. Obviously, besides our friends across the pond, if you are in the United States or wherever you're watching it, like we said at the beginning, if there's a will, there's a way. If you go to cw.com, you can if you can find a server that's in the US somehow magically, we'll just say magic. You can
Everyone
see.
will be sliding into your DMs for that bit of magic.
Absolutely, yeah. No worries. Send me a DM. I'll tell you how to do it.
Brilliant. Fee, I know you're really busy, so give us some highlights of what you've got coming up, please.
Oh, rundown. Okay, so it's my Maybank holiday weekend. So tomorrow night I am emceeing for W3L in Crieff. On Thursday night I'm emceeing for Premier British Wrestling in Beath, and on Friday night I'm emceeing for Main Event Entertainment in Clydebank. So a busy week this week, all midweek shows as well, which is crazy. I actually have the weekend off next weekend. What else is coming up?
Currently, unless I need you for another Spotlight edition.
Unless, yeah, obviously. And then at the end of the month, there's a couple of shows coming up. But the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of June, I am on the road with Inside the Ropes and Jake the Snake Roberts, which is very, very exciting. So we're having 3 shows with him in London, Manchester, Glasgow, or Glasgow, Manchester, London. Can't remember the order. So that's exciting. What else have I got coming up? There's loads of stuff coming up in June and July, but I'll not bore you with that because that's ages away. But yeah, the next 3 shows: W3L tomorrow, PBW on Thursday, and MEE on Friday. So good stuff.
I do have to bore everybody with something that comes up in a couple of months' time, mainly because it's my show. In a couple of months' time, the podcast itself will be putting on, well, its 2nd event. We put one on last year with our partners at Ignite Wrestling. It sold out last year. This year is heading on the verge of a sellout. We've literally got handfuls of tickets left already. We've only announced 2 matches on that card, and one of them is our very own. Yes, we have our very own title. So Jake, you never know, maybe we'll hit you up to come and compete for the
I'd love to hang it on my wall.
For the Turnbuckle Championship. Yes, that will be happening in July. Buckle Up 2024. Whatever you want to call it, will emanate from 96 Shenley's Road in Boreham Wood. If I remember, and if I am right, coming up on this week's Power, EC3 versus Silas Mason for the NWA Heavyweight Championship. The debut that I'm very much looking forward to seeing, the former top dollar AJ Francis will be going one-on-one with Brian Idol, and then we will be crowning a new national heavyweight champion. Well, could be, and there's also the 4-way, isn't there? Match with Latimer involved, Zion and others will be involved as we could be crowning 2 new champions this week on Power. Who knows? We will find out this coming Tuesday on the CW app. Please get it if you haven't already got it in the States. In the UK, if you want to know how to do it, just buzz me or Fiona or slide into Mr. Magic Jake's DMs and he can give you a bit of magic as to how to do it. But this has been another fantastic NWA Spotlight. He has been Magic Jake. She has been the incomparable, amazing Miss Fiona Lochran, and I have been your host, Adam Cousins. And until next time, everybody, take care and goodbye.